everyone. Welcome back to the Tirthon Survival Guide, the podcast for all disciplines, paths, players, and game masters. With your questers, Josh and Dan. I am Dan.
And I am Josh.
And on today's podcast, we will be discussing all things geographical, because we're going to talk about the notable places outside the tribes of Cara Fahd. Still within Cara Fahd, but we're not going to talk about specific tribes anymore, just the places that, if you're going to dabble in this realm, are of note and or might be dangerous. Maybe.
Yeah.
Kind of, sort of.
So this is going to wrap up our current series that we've been doing on Cara Fahd. We've done several episodes on the various tribes and peoples thereof.
Yeah.
And this is going to cover some other notable things that may be connected to Cara Fahd or some of the tribes in some capacity, but are more location-based.
Yeah. These are fun.
This episode is coming out. We're recording it beforehand, but it's coming out after Gen Con. So if you came to Gen Con, I hope you said hi.
Hope you had a good time.
Yeah, I hope you had a good time. I will have just gotten home the day before this episode goes up. So yeah, this is what going to an every other week release schedule has done for us. It means that we're actually recording much farther in advance, and so being able to let people know, hey, come and do this thing, does not work quite as well as it used to. But it is making life a little bit easier for both of us in several regards.
Yes. It's weird when we started going back to bi-weekly, we recorded one episode before the Kickstarter and recorded one after the Kickstarter. We completely missed the Kickstarter entirely.
Yeah.
We couldn't give any updates on how it was going because we did it before it launched and after it was done.
Right. Well, we had episodes that we recorded beforehand and talked about the Kickstarter in those, but could not say what the progress was. It went well, actually. I will say, if you missed it, we did end up with a little bit over 50,000.
Nice.
Which means we met our primary funding goal, which we did very quickly anyway. We hit our first stretch goal, which was to get everybody who got physical product a basic dice set.
Mm-hmm.
Then the 50,000 was a poster of the cover art from Dance with the Serpent, which is the adventure collection, the adventure saga thing that was the primary funding source for this Kickstarter. So again, when this comes out, there will probably have been updates through the Kickstarter for those of you who backed stuff. It's possible that some like pre-release PDF things may have been made available at that point, because things are all written. We're just now in the sort of post-production, getting art together and finalizing covers and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward. I saw the covers finally for the omnibus editions, and those look pretty darn cool.
I especially like the Longing Ring one.
Yeah.
I think that was really, really cool for the paperback softcover version of it, the one that's in color. The hardcover one, the deluxe cover, is going to be cool as well. It's just not going to be quite as detailed.
Understood. Looking forward to either or both, because I have everything I can get my hands on because I'm that addict, but that's okay.
I'm hoping that Gen Con does what it does for me every year, which is give me a little bit of a boost, of a reminder, of a presence among my people, as it were. Not only Tirthon specific, because it is nice to see sort of the same folks that I see there every year at our tables, but just generally hanging out with gamer folks in, I don't know, lovely downtown Indianapolis may be a bit of a stretch, especially with all the construction that's going on there right now, apparently. Yeah. But just like seeing people that I don't otherwise get to see, and just generally getting to hang out and socialize and not be working the day gig and stuff.
Yeah. No, you're back amongst your people.
Yeah.
That's the point. That's the whole point. Finding community in this hobby we all have, because hobbies cost money.
Yes.
Interests are free. Hobbies cost money. Thank you, George Carlin. So we're going to talk about the interesting places around beyond the tribes. And I like these 5 pages out of the Cara Fahd book, because I think this fleshes out the realm nicely. We've kind of dabbled with all the tribes that have one's got a troll leader, and they are all orcs, but they're all different variations or facets of orcs you can get around to. These places involve people besides orcs in some cases, or they're ancient places. We're going to talk about ancient Cara Fahd, the Hold of Courage, Kelpoya, the Black Quarry, and Lelisthala. So we're going to hit all of those places in here. So you've got a preview. If none of those places appeal to you, turn off the podcast now. Get the next episode. If you want to keep listening, by all means do so, because I'm going to keep talking. So in the essays, ancient Cara Fahd is notably important. And it lost in the jungle, and the maps that were detailing where it was were made before mapping by airship was able to be completed. So they're highly inaccurate, and instructions are a bit wonky, and the wording is tricky, and it's at least...
And it has been centuries and centuries, let alone the fact that you've had the Scourge, which may have also modified or adjusted the way things look in some areas.
And if you're going by landmarks and terrain, it's going to completely throw you off. So the landmark, if you were using, as Josh said, the Scourge may have thrown off all of the landmarks you would be using on these maps to figure out where the ancient city of Cara Fahd actually is. Because one of them is like, it's near the Greenheart River. Well, it's a river. It kind of goes on for a while. Perhaps it's by the triple peak. Well, that's 3 mountains together.
And over the course of centuries, rivers can change their courses.
Yeah, water goes where it wants to go. So, the ancient city of Cara Fahd, or ancient Cara Fahd, sorry, is, like I said, 20 days into the jungle. Well, from where? You're looking for the Citadel of Tirthon. And again, you have centuries of overgrowth and the Scourge remapping and scouring, literally the landscape. Maybe the rivers change. Maybe mountains are now molehills. Maybe molehills are now mountains. Who knows? Is where the jungle actually goes, because the jungle will keep growing. So the tower you're looking for, essentially, and in the middle of ancient Cara Fahd, is described as a vast tower with red soil at its base. Helpful landmark. Maybe. Kinda. Who knows? With crushed stones and char marks littering the area around this. Because astrally, it has an incredibly strong magical presence. This may be your best way to find it. And those images, the magical presence you're going to find there, if you're using your astral sense, is possibly orcs in chains, images, and likely evil deeds tainting the area around the citadel. So, some clues you can use if you're searching for the ancient Cara Fahd in the Citadel of Tirthon. There are Orzet words carved into the walls. There will be orc skulls everywhere, per se. This is in the essay, so again, centuries have passed, but this is the latest expedition that went to go try and find it somewhere, sometime recently. However, be warned, this is the obsession of Xerath's Ice Thought, and this is what kept her sitting there, obsessively studying everything, and like speaking in tongues almost, where insanity or worse awaits anybody who passes the Citadel's walls. So Xerath found it. Don't think it served her any good, though.
Yeah, we talked about the Citadel and Xerath and so forth in the episode that we did a while back about Xerath's chargers.
Yeah.
And talked about some of the stuff that was going on there. So we're not going to get into that into too much depth, because you can just go back to that previous episode and listen to it. One of the things that I actually want to address here is part of the reason why locating the sites of ancient Cara Fahd is important. Not only as a way for the Orc Nation to reconnect with their past, but also because of the weirdness of magic that is going on as a result of things. Mm-hmm. You had the old nation of Cara Fahd, which effectively ceased to exist back during the Orichalcum Wars, and has not really been an actual polity of any note for centuries. You know, existing only within really the folk tales and legends of the Orc diaspora.
Yeah.
But it was a nation. It was a named place, and therefore has a true pattern, and that still continues to exist to some degree. But then you have a new nation that goes in and gets founded on top of it, you know, on the same site with the same name. Yeah. But because of the historical break of several centuries that have happened there, it is kind of making its own true pattern.
Yes.
And there's just weird magical stuff that's potentially going on. And this gets talked about in the sort of back end of the Cara Fahd book,
Yes.
where those true patterns are kind of battling each other. But it's possible that by recovering legendary items from Cara Fahd's past or pattern items of old Cara Fahd, that the potential damage to the patterns of old Cara Fahd or new Cara Fahd could be forestalled or binding them together in some way. This is, in fact, and we'll get into this, why the Blades of Cara Fahd are such a significant artifact, because they are a thread item that is tied very strongly into the history of old Cara Fahd, and everything that goes along with that.
Yeah. So, and by all means, we will get to Blades. It is forthcoming.
Yes.
It'll be a long breakdown on Blades. We'll get there. So hold your horses. So on to the Hold of Courage. This is a very brief entry in the essay, and I liked it because it's the old Hold of Courage is by the Triple Peak. That's the directions you're given as to how to find it. And it is the seat of ancient knowledge from original Cara Fahd, the OG Cara Fahd. And in the hold, there are statues that hold soul stones of the ancestors to teach wisdom. If this does not ring a bell to you from the original Superman movie, a.k.a. Clark Kent in the Fortress of Superman in the Fortress of Solitude with the Crystals, I'm sorry for you.
Speaking of complete side tangent, the new Superman movie, the James Gunn 2025 Superman movie,
Yes.
it's really good.
I need to go see it.
It is really good.
Good.
That's all that I will say. You brought it up, so I had to mention.
Nope. Hey.
I really, really liked it. Almost perfect casting across the board in that movie. The Hold of Courage, by the way, we will probably talk about more when we get into Blades, because one of the adventures in Blades
Takes place
features the Hold of Courage.
there. Yeah.
So we will talk about it more there.
The only teaser I'm going to give you is that it is rumored, it is legendarily rumored, that Hrak Gron's Soul Stone may still be in the Hold of Courage. And that's what people are searching for, is Hrak Gron's wisdom.
Right.
To benefit all of current Cara Fahd in recent iterations. So anyway.
It is also likely that Hrak Gron's Soul Stone, if it exists, could be a significant pattern item for old Cara Fahd. So even if they aren't able to directly access Hrak Gron's wisdom or something like that, that item would still be, Yeah. It would be worth having. It would certainly be a relic of significant importance and probably of magical importance. Something that they would want to have so that it doesn't fall into the wrong hands.
Agreed. So if you're writing an adventure, or you're eventually thinking about making a longer campaign to go find the Citadel of Tirthon in ancient Cara Fahd, or the Hold of Courage, located similarly in the depths of the jungle, don't forget to listen to our episode about how to travel through the jungle, because that will be very important details to throw at your players and their characters when you finally get to that point. But I would absolutely imagine that writing a lengthy campaign to eventually find Hrak Gron's Soul Stone would be an epic campaign to get involved in.
Yeah. The Hold of Courage, the fate of the Soul Stones that were interred there as a result of the Scourge is a sad one, as it says in the book, that many of the souls in those stones were, if not destroyed, corrupted, tormented by the horrors. And there is fear that that the same may have happened to Hrak Gron's Soul Stone.
Yeah.
Although there is the hope that their spirit was strong enough to endure whatever torments because of who they are.
Agreed. So I would absolutely love to either play in that adventure or read how it goes. So somebody write it, somebody play it, email it to me. I'll be happy to read the exploits about it. The three places we have left are a little bit more fleshed out, and I appreciate the caginess of the Hold of Courage and just enough about ancient Cara Fahd to make it a teaser. But I also like the further fleshing out of Kelpoya, this island in the Locust River, which is mostly stone. Not a lot grows on Kelpoya, by all means. And it is in the northern third of the Locust River. I had to find it on the map. It is on the map. It is actually labeled on the map. This is inhabited by Tiskrang, and they adorn themselves with swirly black tattoos and spikes on their tails. So, just a little bit, yes, they're Tiskrang near Cara Fahd, as there should be, and they still master the river, as they should as well. These residents here, just to flesh out how they live, is they have mud brick buildings, stilt houses that extend a good 100 to 200 yards in some directions from this mostly stone island in the Locust River.
Locust as in the insect, not locust as in the passion.
Good. Thank you for clarifying that. I was reading it properly, but it may not translate audibly to listeners' ears. Good point.
Locust as in the swarming grasshopper-like insect.
Like a swarm of locusts.
Yeah.
That thing. Yes.
Not named after the passion of freedom, which would also be something that would potentially be appropriate for a river on the bank, on the borders of Cara Fahd. So
totally
wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you doing so, sir. So if you're approaching this from the river, they have docks aplenty, and they have some fisheries and some kelp gardens. This is pretty much how they subsist, what they subsist themselves on, and they're as friendly as only Tiskrang can be. They sell spices, they sell boats, they sell pottery, and just as a teaser, if you ever want to include this community, they have a pre-Scourge library of all manner of things to look up, because during the Scourge, the Tiskrang all took a nap and then woke back up after it was over. So they didn't have to necessarily survive it, but they did, endure it, but they did survive it, and they have a pre-Scourge library that's still intact. Probably everything on scrolls, but yes, not a bad community to take a look at. Your thoughts on Kelpoya and its importance in Cara Fahd?
It's not specified, but I would be of the opinion that because the Locust River is not part of the Serpent River network, it's a separate river that empties into Death's Sea on its own.
Yeah.
Because it's south of the Twilight Peaks. Mm-hmm. That the Tiskrang in Kelpoya and probably do not have the Serpent River style riverboats. I think the boats that they have are the more traditional, like sailboats and things like that.
Yeah,
rather than having fire engines.
Yeah.
Because the river between the Locust and the Greenheart River, I don't think they're large enough, or there are enough sort of Tiskrang populations there to have riverboats be a thing. And this was something actually that was never really explored to any extent in sort of outside, is whether the riverboat culture of the Serpent River Tiskrang was kind of unique in that they were the only area that had it, which would make them kind of special in their own way.
Yeah.
And that I would like as a concept, because it breaks the monotony, like the what's the term that I've used in the past? The racial homogeneity that the Tiskrang of the Serpent River have this culture, this riverboat culture that developed.
Yeah.
And that is not the same. Like that if Tiskrang have riverboats in other parts of the world, that means that all Tiskrang are kind of like the same in some regards. I just think that the riverboat development and that being something that's part of the Serpent River is something that's kind of unique to that culture, because the Serpent River network is so large and elaborate and is an environment that kind of justifies the development of such a thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like the subway system in New York City versus a light rail system in
Baltimore. Yeah,
one's above ground, one's below ground. One is an intricate network and rigorously timed as much as possible. Hundreds of train cars a day and so forth and so on. That's the Serpent River network. Your light rail system, train cars, maybe 4 or 5 of them run at a certain time in Baltimore. That's this river system on this side of the map.
Again, I think that there are still similarities in terms of the culture, because they're still semi-aquatic. They still make their living out of and with the river.
Yes.
They just don't have the fire engine-powered magical riverboats.
Yeah. They have something smaller.
They've got sailboats and dravekis and canoes and things like that they deal with. They're still an aquatic people, just the technology that they have is not...
They don't need the riverboat to go up and down the river to carry other cargo for everybody else. They're not part of the ferry or the ferry type system or the trading system.
They are part of sort of an extended Tiskrang culture, and I think the farther away you get from Barsave, the more different those things are going to become.
Yeah.
That's all like sort of speculation and off the top of my head sidebarring about the Tiskrang and riverboat culture and whatnot.
I'm okay with that. I have a novel in my head brewing, and it's going to take me a decade to get it out, but I have a novel where a Tiskrang from this island, you know, like the country mouse versus the city mouse fairy tale we all can vaguely remember, where he's exploring in and around Cara Fahd, goes through that, eventually finds the riverboat system along the Serpent, and it's the country mouse doing the city mouse. Oh my goodness, this is what life could be, so forth and so on. So I have that in my head eventually. Short story novella, one of those things. If I ever get it written, I'll let you all know. Anyway, so that's Kelpoya, and I like the idea of it, especially if you have a magical item that needs to be researched. This library, I think, would be a fantastic setting to throw at your characters playing in your game, because it's all hundreds of yards of docks that you have to eventually, you know, put the boat on or land the boat at and walk the docks and figure out where this thing is. If it's below water, probably is. It's watertight, or it's airtight and below water for the library and things. I think that'd be fantastic because the island is mostly rocks. So probably it's just in there, but I think it'd be kind of cool. On to the Black Quarry. There's a lot written in this essay about the Black Quarry because it basically is about as bad as you can think it is. This is your wretched hive of scum and villainy, to quote Star Wars. This looks like a haze-covered, foul-smelling pit of a town. It sounds like a 24/7 raucous drums and horns. It's a city that never sleeps, or a town that never sleeps. It is and by the way, the oldest profession is very alive and very well handled in this town. Gambling dens for dice or cards and free hurlg, and iron is mined here. So this is basically a mining town, which is why it's called the Black Quarry. And this is your go-to for any mine owners you want to throw in here, or people who are looking to strike it rich quickly. They will fail. This is your gold rush at the end of the gold rush type town. So pretty lawless, pretty rough and tumble.
Yeah.
Have at it.
Gold Rush era California mixed with a little bit of Bartertown.
Yeah.
A little bit of Haven as well, without the imminent danger of the corrupted ruins of Parlainth right next door. Yes. But basically a place where there is potentially lots of money to be made, but not necessarily being made easily.
Yes.
And so it draws all kinds of hopefuls and whatnot. So think your sort of classic Wild West
Tombstone
Gold Rush era, late 19th century.
Yeah. It's a boom town, but it's on the decline because there's not much there to mine anymore. So it smells like garbage, sweat, and sometimes death. Smelting kilns.
Toss in, I was going to say Las Vegas, but maybe more Reno. As somebody put it, Reno, the Las Vegas, but for the thrice divorced person.
Exactly. He doesn't have a lot of money to spend on gambling. Smelting kilns in this town go night and day, sometimes literally choking the city with a sickness. So the pollution is nasty. There's a lot of deaths happening here for a myriad of reasons, but not enough to slow down anyone or anything in the city. So it will keep moving, and they'll just step over the body.
Yeah, it is lawless. It does not have the benefit that Haven has, for example, where there is kind of a strong guiding hand at the helm to keep things from getting too out of control.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have the corruption inherent in Bartertown. There's sort of nobody really in charge, and thus nothing really gets done in terms of a supporting infrastructure and making it a community that is...
got a direction.
Yeah, that's worth anything.
Yeah, Bartertown has a direction. Kratos has a direction. Haven has a direction. Travar has a direction. This has no direction. Nobody's guiding the hand behind the scenes. 2,000 people live here, and almost as many visit every single day from all over with any kind of get-rich-quick ideas or strike-it-rich schemes or whatever. And the only people making money here, as we've said previously on the podcast, are the ones funding those who think they're going to strike it rich.
Yeah.
We have your supplies. We'll keep raking in the money. Y'all go try and find a fortune.
Make a lot more money selling shovels to the folks who all think they're going to go strike it rich in the hills.
Yes. And
than you ever will going and digging up the hills themselves.
Totally. So this, as I said, is your wretched hive of scum and villainy without any law. So you're taking your life into your hands. Black Quarry might be a fun place to visit, or at least throw at your players as a setting for see if you can survive the night, if you can find a place to shack up, with or without your oldest profession taking place or not. Have at it. Someone is always as likely to kill you here as ask you for directions or pick your pocket. So worse than Kratos, worse than Bartertown, worse than Haven.
Actually, the question would be, is this worse than Kratos post-Garlthic?
There you go. Because, yeah, that's a good question. Because I don't know what happened to Kratos after Garlthic, but
we haven't really explored that. We haven't explored that question yet. Officially.
But by all means, folks, speculate on your own. That's what I think the Black Quarry leads into. So it's a nice setting to throw in there to say, yeah, Cara Fahd's coming together, but there are still some places that are way behind the curve in getting to civilization per se, as far as a nation state is concerned. And the Black Quarry is definitely further behind the curve than most. Anyway, our last notable place in and around Cara Fahd is known as Lelisthala. A lot of soft consonants here. Lelisthala is at the nexus of the Dolaris and the Locust rivers. On the map, it's at the far northwestern corner. And this is inhabited by trolls and elves. The story behind their joining is wonderful. They're both freed Theran slave communities that relied on each other for their freedom to get away from the Therans. And so you had house elves and field trolls that all decided to leave Thera at the same time and said, enough with this noise, we're getting out of here. So they left together and decided to stay together because it benefited them completely. And they got as far away as they could until they hit the river at the northwestern spot of Cara Fahd. Their archers watch the skies. Their catapults are loaded with pepper paste, and they have barrels of arrows all over town. They are ready for a fight in case Thera comes looking. So they're itching for it. But you can find the examples of their joined community and prosperity together when you look at just the gates. They're troll built, so they're heavy, they're dense, and they're fortified, but they are engraved with elven decorations. So they have decided to prosper together as just elves and trolls, and they somehow get along. They somehow make it work, and they're currently run by Gronthan Shorthorns, who has short gray hair, polished horns, and very clean clothes. But they really wouldn't be left alone from the rest of Cara Fahd. So if Cara Fahd comes knocking, they're like, yeah, we don't care. This is our outpost. We're done.
Yeah, the problem that's going on with that is that they sent a missive to Krathis Gron saying, we're happy to get along with you if you kind of leave us to our lands. And we just want peace. We don't want trouble. We just kind of want to be able to live our lives and do our thing.
Yeah.
And then the elf eaters happened. We talked about the elf eaters a few episodes back.
Episodes ago, yeah.
Yeah. The elf eaters, it would seem from my reading of things that the elf eaters intercepted the messenger, killed him, and attacked the town. And that has been the result of, that has been the cause of tensions.
Yes.
Between Lelisthala and the rest of Cara Fahd. I mean, they're also up in the area, I guess, up near where the Righteous Vipers are, and they're not particularly nice or friendly folks either.
No.
So, you've got this community of trolls and elves primarily.
Yeah.
That has not had much luck in terms of coexisting peacefully with their neighbors. They're very obviously anti-Theron, but there is some question and fear that they may ally themselves with the so-called Basstown resistance.
Mm-hmm.
Primarily humans, but others who lived particularly in southeastern Cara Fahd, near the border with Landis and so forth, who all got kind of uprooted and pushed out and whatnot when the orcs returned.
Yeah.
And we're not happy about that and are kind of spoiling for a fight as a result of it. And it could be that Lelisthala may be interested in working with them, which would potentially be a problem because it would give another base of operations, technically within the borders of Cara Fahd itself, for the resistance to operate out of. And one that is very interested in maintaining its sovereignty and defending its territory.
Yeah.
Which would make things even harder in terms of like trying to root out any really nasty examples. The impression that I get from the person who wrote this little section was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that it wasn't Krathis who killed the messenger and left the missive torn up at their gates.
Yeah.
Because, like, she's not that dumb. It was probably those stupid elf eaters.
Yes.
Among all of the other issues that Krathis has to deal with, this is just another one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Lelisthala isn't itching for a fight. They're ready for one, be it from the elf eaters.
They are not aggressive, but they will do their best to stop a fight if one starts.
Capably, I might add. Because you have elven archers and troll archers, and then you've got just a bunch of pissed off trolls. That's not going to make your day. So, going to say that right there.
Yeah, it's another example of the difficulties that Krathis Gron is facing as she's trying to rebuild this nation. And I kind of have brought this up in other places, is that Cara Fahd at this point still kind of exists more as an idea than as an actual nation. Is that you've got this nation ostensibly that really is just a bunch of various tribes who are still all hung up on their various conflicts and squabbles and personality clashes without really giving much thought to what it means to actually be a nation.
Yes.
And trying to navigate all of those and deal with the politics and relationships that need to be developed. Krathis Gron needs to handle not just the difficulties, and the politics of dealing with the Crystal Raiders that are at their borders, or Landis to one side, or Thera to another, and, overtures from Thrall and the wild lands that still exist. You've also got all of those internal struggles going on between the various tribes and whatnot.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of territory and a lot of needing to juggle personalities and try to get them working together. And my sense is, from our discussions about the various tribes, is that it's likely to be a generation before they're really able to solidify anything that would determine whether they are, as a nation, going to survive.
Yeah. I might even say two, because
it is something that certainly the Second Theron War, could do to help speed that along. But still something that it makes Cara Fahd a very interesting area to have a game set in, because you can have the politics, you can have the sort of troubleshooter style game of a group of adventurers going around to various places that are dealing with physical threats like hazards coming out of the deep jungle, or bandits or raiders, or political squabbles between various tribes, and kind of needing to deal with all of that.
Yeah.
All the while, if you're doing it pre-Second War, the looming threat of the Therans to the southwest in Vivane and Skypoint, there's a lot of potentially cool stuff that could be done there, which would actually tie in really, really well if you have a group that managed to get a hold of the Blades, because they would be seen as representatives as important in Cara Fahd to some extent.
Yeah. I think, like I said, maybe a generation to get where they want to go and maybe solidify or coalesce into an actual nation state. I'd say almost 2 because orcs live so short a life.
There were several examples in the various tribes that we went through of cases where there are people that are next in line to lead some of the major tribes that are very interested in the dream of Cara Fahd as a nation.
Yes.
And kind of waiting for the current leaders to die off, essentially, so that they have the opportunity to do what they're going to do.
Yeah. So step aside, old man. I got this covered. So
I'm talking about generations, not in the sense of years, but just in the sense of there are a whole bunch of people that are
waiting in the wings,
ready and willing and want to see a true unified Cara Fahd exist, but are not yet in the position to actually make it happen.
Yeah, to actuate that and go from there. Any further thoughts on any of these territories? I think this is a nice sprinkling of diversity among Cara Fahd and just on the outskirts here and there that really helps flesh out the possibilities and the diverse nature of what awaits you just when you just get to either the edge or just outside the border of the nation state of Cara Fahd.
I do have one more thought, but I think it is actually a lot better suited to our first episode talking about blades.
Fair.
And the blades of Cara Fahd, because I think it would relate more to sort of that campaign arc and things connected with that, where we're going to be talking about the blades themselves and stuff like that. So I think it's a thought better suited there. And hopefully when we record it, I will actually remember it.
Say it now. That way I can just edit it out later.
Yeah, so here's what I'll do. I will say it now. It has to do with the interesting question of your typical player character adventuring group is going to be a diverse collection of name givers. They are probably not going to be majority orc. And how them carrying and using the legendary items of
orcs,
the ancient defenders of Cara Fahd, which was a group of orcs, and how that could be seen and how that could lead to interesting conflicts and interactions and stuff with the various peoples in Cara Fahd, because there are several of those adventures in that campaign that take place in Cara Fahd. So if I don't bring it up later in more detail, then you can remind me, and if it doesn't get brought up, then send in an email and say, hey, Josh, you said you wanted to talk about this, and you didn't. Will you talk about it?
Yeah, I have wrote myself a note. What if they're not all orcs in your party? That should spur you on for the introduction for the next one. So we'll get there, and we're good to go. So, folks, enjoy these 5 locations in and around Cara Fahd. I know I enjoyed reading them. I would absolutely enjoy a game set there for me to play in. I think it'd be absolutely fantastic and wonderful. New sites to look at, new people to meet, new experiences to have as a character in this realm. So until next time, go watch Superman for your legend.
Good night, everybody.